Have you ever woken up so impressed by a dream that you needed a few seconds to understand if it really happened, or if it was all just a figment of your imagination? Some dreams are so intense, so hyper-realistic, that they leave you with an almost physical sensation in the morning that you lived that experience. The texture of the images, the weight of the emotions, the sound of the voices, the detailed scenery, everything seems so real that it's almost frightening. And it is precisely at this point that science enters with fascinating explanations about how the brain works during the REM phase, why certain people have more vivid dreams than others, and how mysterious phenomena of the mind can transform the night into an immersive stage of false memories, real sensations, and perceptions that defy logic. But before I reveal what's really happening inside your brain during those moments, let me ask you something else. Have you ever had a dream so vivid that you kept thinking about it all day? Maybe a conversation that felt real, a place you'd never seen but seemed familiar, or even someone who doesn't exist but felt so close you could almost touch them. If this has ever happened to you, stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might surprise you, and perhaps even help you understand why your mind creates these vivid experiences while you sleep. Hyperrealistic dreams are part of a fascinating neuroscience phenomenon. While we sleep, the brain isn't switched off as many people imagine. In fact, it enters a state of such intense activity that, at times, it becomes almost as active as when we are awake. This is when these vivid images, precise sensations, and emotions so strong that they can stay with us for hours after getting out of bed arise. The combination of a highly active visual cortex, amplified emotions, and memory reconstruction processes is one of the central ingredients of this mystery. And all this happens while your body remains practically motionless, as if you were watching a movie inside your own head. And the most curious thing is that some people are much more prone to this type of dream than others. It may be related to an active imagination, the level of creativity, the emotional intensity of daily life, accumulated stress, or even specific characteristics of brain function. But that's not all. There are studies that show that people with greater sensory sensitivity, those who perceive small details, who feel things more deeply, who have a stronger emotional connection with the environment, also tend to experience more vivid and intense dreams. Have you ever experienced this? That dream so clear it seemed like an echo of real life? Furthermore, during REM sleep, the brain activates regions responsible for memory and emotion, creating a unique blend of true memories, fragments of past experiences, and completely invented elements. It's as if it takes all these loose pieces and assembles a new story, but one so well constructed that the final result seems like an authentic memory, even if it's entirely illusory. And it is precisely this creative reconstruction that makes many dreams not only vivid but also coherent, palpable, almost sensory. Scientists still don't know for sure why some people experience these hyper-realistic dreams so frequently, but there are already clear clues, and some of them are truly surprising. It's as if certain brains operate in a kind of immersive mode, creating experiences with a level of detail that goes far beyond the ordinary. And this leads us to an essential question. What exactly differentiates these people from others? Why do some brains seem to enhance dream resolution while others produce more blurred and disjointed images? This answer involves emotion, memory, biology, and some of the deepest mysteries of how the human mind works, and that's what we're going to start exploring now. And while we're talking about this, perhaps you've already remembered a dream so powerful that it's etched in your mind as if it were a chapter of your own life. These moments say a lot about how your brain works, how you experience the world, and the intensity with which your mind creates internal realities. By the way, if this topic resonates with you, leave a comment below describing the most striking hyper-realistic dream you've ever had, the one that left you thinking for hours or even days. I really want to know. When you share your experience, you not only enrich this conversation but also help others realize they're not alone in experiencing these profound and mysterious sensations. And since we're talking about collaborative work, take this moment to like the video. It really helps the content reach more people who are also fascinated by science, the human mind, and those strange phenomena that happen while we sleep. Each like you give tells YouTube, hey, this topic is worthwhile, show it to more people. It seems simple, but it makes all the difference to those on this side creating and researching all this with so much care for you. And of course, if you enjoy this universe of scientific curiosities, mysteries of the human body, and surprising brain phenomena, subscribe to the channel. Your subscription is a clear sign that you want to continue this journey with me, exploring ever deeper layers of the mind and science. Furthermore, when you subscribe, you ensure you won't miss the upcoming videos. And believe me, what's coming next is just as intriguing as what we're discussing now. Your participation here is what makes this channel grow and reach more people who, like you, love to delve into this hidden and fascinating side of the human experience. And speaking of diving deep, now that you understand how our dreams can reach impressive levels of realism, we need to go a little further. Because there's a specific phase of sleep where all of this intensifies, as if the brain enters a high-definition mode. And it's precisely at this point that science begins to reveal surprising details about what really happens while you sleep. Let's continue. When we talk about hyperrealistic dreams, we're entering a territory where the mind creates experiences so complex and detailed that many describe them as true inner journeys. It's as if, for a few nights, our consciousness enters a state of high sensory definition, where everything comes to life. Colors seem deeper, sounds clearer, emotions more intense, and the very logic of the dream organizes itself in a surprisingly coherent way. Many people report that, in these moments, there is no difference between living and dreaming, and this is something that impresses even scientists. Researchers call this phenomenon vivid dreamlike, a state in which the brain operates with such a wealth of detail that anyone could swear it actually happened. And the most curious thing is that this feeling of realism can remain even after waking up, as if the echo of the experience continues to vibrate within the memory for hours or even days. These dreams often evoke a unique mix of feelings. For some, they are like small windows into an alternate version of their own lives, offering a kind of intimate transformation. For others, they function as a kind of emotional catharsis, an internal cleansing. It's as if the brain, while you sleep, is revealing hidden truths that go unnoticed in everyday life. You know that feeling of waking up and sensing that something inside you has changed? As if a decision had been made, or a silent understanding had occurred. This is no coincidence. The mind finds in hyperrealistic dreams a safe space to reorganize thoughts, emotions, and memories, and it does all this behind the scenes while you simply rest. Science explains that, during these episodes of vivid dreaming, the brain activates regions responsible for processing real sensations. Areas linked to vision, touch, hearing, and especially emotion become fully functional. It's not just imagination. It's a high-performance neurological show. That's why these dreams have such a strong impact on how you feel when you wake up. The brain doesn't differentiate very well between what is imagined and what is experienced. It reacts to emotions and internal stimuli as if they were real. When the mind creates a scenario with such precision, you live it. And this experience is recorded. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because there's something fascinating about the way the brain constructs these scenes. To produce a hyper-realistic dream, it doesn't create everything from scratch. It takes fragments of your history, old memories, recent events, present sensations, and even things you saw for just a few seconds during the day, and combines it all in such a well-constructed way that the final result seems like a parallel reality. This helps explain why some dreams seem so familiar, even showing landscapes you've never visited. The mind mixes elements with such mastery that it creates complete worlds, with their own rules, smells, textures, and feelings. And as extraordinary as it may seem, there is also a very strong emotional side involved in this process. Hyperrealistic dreams highlight the most intense emotions you carry. Fears, desires, tensions, joys, insecurities, and significant memories appear as if they were being projected onto an internal screen. This explains why these dreams are often so striking. They retrieve everything that has the greatest emotional weight in your life. The brain reorganizes, reinterprets, and sometimes even tries to offer symbolic answers to issues you didn't even realize were bothering you. The more sensitive, creative, or perceptive someone is during the day, the more vivid their dreams tend to be at night. People with active imaginations, restless minds, high empathy, or introspective personalities often experience dreams so rich in detail that they can be mistaken for real memories. It's as if these people's minds are working in high resolution all the time. The truth is that this type of dream isn't just about sleeping. It's about how you live, feel, and interpret the world while you're awake. And it's curious to think that, even with all these revelations and advances in neuroscience, there's still much we don't fully understand about this phenomenon. Hyperrealistic dreams remain one of the great mysteries of the human mind, a field where science and imagination meet. Now tell me in the comments, that makes sense to me. If you've ever experienced something similar, because your experience can add even more layers to this conversation, and what we're going to explore next delves even deeper into this mystery. During REM sleep, something truly extraordinary happens within the mind, something many people are unaware of, but which profoundly influences how we experience our most intense dreams. It's as if the brain switches on a secret mode, an internal cinema mode, where everything gains more light, more color, more movement. Neurons begin firing signals at an impressive speed, creating activity so intense that, at times, it comes closer to the waking state than to deep sleep. Meanwhile, the body remains almost immobile, protected by a natural mechanism that prevents you from physically reproducing what you are experiencing inside your head. It's a curious combination, a highly awake mind within a completely asleep body. At this stage, emotions undergo significant amplification. Fear, joy, longing, excitement, nostalgia. Everything comes across stronger. It's as if the brain removes the emotional filters we use daily, leaving only the pure intensity of sensations. That's why, in hyperrealistic dreams, tears flow without you crying, your heart races without danger, and the relief feels as real as when you solve a major real-life problem. This emotional force is one of the main reasons why some people wake up deeply affected, as if they had experienced a revelation or gone through an entire journey while sleeping. The REM phase is so active because it involves essential regions of the mind: the visual cortex, responsible for creating images, the limbic system, linked to the deepest emotions, and the hippocampus, a key point for memory. All these areas enter into a kind of silent collaboration, working together to assemble stories, scenarios, and sensations with rich detail. When the brain is more active than normal in this stage, dreams gain texture, depth, and emotional volume. They cease to be just disconnected flashes and begin to have coherence, narrative, and impact. It's as if the brain were directing a film whose protagonist is you, and everything else is built with fragments of your own life. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because this cinema mode isn't just a poetic metaphor. The truth is that, during REM sleep, the brain actually operates as if it were simulating reality. It uses fragments of old memories, recent recollections, loose thoughts, and stored emotions to create complete scenes. And the most impressive thing is that, when these pieces fit together well, the end result is a dream so rich that it could easily be mistaken for something lived. The colors seem real because the visual cortex is active. The voices seem authentic because the brain accesses real sound files. The places seem possible because it mixes known locations with imagined details. This process happens behind the scenes of the mind and reveals a hidden truth about how we deal with our emotions. During the day, we use reasoning, logic, and social behavior to organize our reactions. But at night, when these mechanisms are suspended, the mind has complete freedom to express what is repressed, reorganize what is confused, and even offer symbolic clues about internal issues. It's as if hyperrealistic dreaming is a way for the brain to illuminate parts of our emotional history that we don't perceive while awake. Many people report waking up with the feeling that something has been resolved, even without knowing exactly what. And this makes sense. The REM phase has this role of reorganizing and giving new meaning to experiences. And when we talk about texture and depth in dreams, we're also talking about the hyperactive functioning of neurons at this stage. They connect in unexpected ways, rekindling dormant memories and creating entirely new combinations. Imagine two memories that have never met before but which, during the REM phase, merge into a single scene. This mixture is one of the reasons why some dreams are new, but at the same time incredibly familiar. The brain uses what you've experienced but transforms everything into something bigger, as if it were constructing its own narrative. People with heightened emotional sensitivity, sharp creativity, or strong imaginations tend to experience these dreams more intensely. They possess minds that register many details throughout the day, even those small snippets of reality that go unnoticed by most people. The combination of this with an active brain during REM sleep creates dream experiences with much greater richness. Those who perceive more dream more. Those who feel more live stronger dreams. This explains why some people have hyperrealistic dreams so frequently, while others almost never remember what they dream. And what's most impressive is how all of this can influence how we feel when we wake up. A hyperrealistic dream can change your mood, inspire decisions, bring comfort, reveal insecurities, or simply leave that strange feeling of, I lived this somewhere. And none of this is random. They are reflections of how your brain is organizing your emotional journey, interpreting your own story, and trying to show the impact of emotions that you don't fully perceive in your daily life. Now tell me in the comments, that makes sense to me. Because the next point in this script delves even deeper into this universe of hyperrealistic dreams. When we talk about the relationship between emotions and hyperrealistic dreams, we enter an even deeper territory of the human mind, a space where sensitivity, intensity, and perception blend almost invisibly. Emotionally sensitive people carry a more vivid inner universe. They feel more during the day, absorb more nuances of situations, perceive micro-expressions, tones of voice, textures of the environment. And everything that goes unnoticed by many ends up being recorded in deeper layers of memory. It's no surprise that these same people experience much more vivid dreams. If you feel a lot during the day, you probably feel even more at night. And this simple truth explains why certain dreams seem like complete films, while others are just disconnected blurs. Anxiety, for example, plays a significant role in this process. Not extreme anxiety, but daily worry, a racing mind, the habit of anticipating scenarios and imagining possibilities. Anxious people rarely have a quiet mind, even when the body tries to rest. And when REM sleep arrives, this emotional hyperactivity finds a way to express itself through images, stories, and scenes charged with intensity. Every detail that was stored in the discrete layers of thought returns as raw material for extremely realistic dreams. It's as if the brain takes advantage of the silence of the night to do a deep cleaning, bringing to the surface everything that needs to be reorganized. Another essential aspect is heightened creativity. Creative people don't just invent new things while they're awake. Their brains function like a constant projector, spontaneously combining references, sensations, memories, and inspirations. At night, this same creativity gains total freedom. Logic loosens, imagination takes control, and dreams become true internal cinematic productions. Often, the dream presents elements as absurd as they are beautiful, but paradoxically, everything makes sense within that world. Creative people live with minds permeated by colors, metaphors, and possibilities, and it's natural that this universe appears strongly during sleep. Empathy also has a significant influence. Those who deeply feel what others feel, who absorb emotions from the environment, who perceive pain that no one verbalizes, who understand people through their gaze, carry a greater emotional burden. This burden doesn't disappear when the day ends, it transforms. And in hyper-realistic dreams, simple everyday moments can take on enormous meaning. A short phrase, a discreet gesture, an awkward silence. Everything becomes a symbol, a narrative, condensed emotion. Empathy creates bridges between the inner and outer worlds, and these bridges continue to function during sleep. There's also the hyperactive brain, that type of mind that rarely rests. Are you familiar with this pattern? Sequential thoughts, ideas that spring up out of nowhere, memories that appear unbidden, sensations you try to ignore but remain. People with this type of neurological functioning tend to have neural networks that are much more connected, much faster, and much more sensitive. During REM sleep, this internal speed translates into intense dreams, full of overlaps, textures, and sensations. The overactive brain creates worlds with the same force and richness that it creates worries during the day. It simply doesn't switch off, it just changes environments. And we can't forget the more imaginative personality. Such people often live small internal stories even when they are awake. They find themselves thinking about possibilities, creating dialogues, visualizing scenarios, mentally constructing situations that may never happen. They are people who see poetry where others see routine, who can transform ordinary moments into emotional memories. During sleep, this imagination intensifies. The brain, free from the limitations of logical reasoning, acts like an artist that mixes feelings and memories with brushstrokes of fantasy. That's why, in hyperrealistic dreams, impossible things seem normal, but at the same time so real that you can feel texture, smell, temperature. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because there is a hidden truth in the way emotion shapes dreams. Each person carries a kind of emotional fingerprint, a unique mark that determines how they feel, how they react, how they absorb the world around them. People who live intensely carry a kind of emotional radar that is always on. And this radar doesn't turn off at night, it changes frequency. In sleep, it transforms into images, sounds, and sensations. The hyperrealistic dream is nothing more than the visual and symbolic manifestation of the deepest emotions. It not only reflects what you experienced but what you felt even when you weren't consciously aware of it. This connection between emotion and dreams functions as an internal journey that takes place behind the scenes of the mind. Sometimes, a hyperrealistic dream brings clarity to something that was confusing. Other times, it reveals a sensitivity you've been trying to ignore. On some nights, it transforms old emotions into new stories. And on others, it simply shows the impact a single detail had on you, even if it was just a look, a phrase, or a thought that had been forgotten. And all of this makes sense when we understand that the brain reacts to emotions as if they were real events. It registers intensity, not logic. It preserves impact, not chronology. That's why hyperrealistic dreams seem so real. They are the symbolic representation of what you experienced emotionally, not what literally happened. Now write in the comments, "I'm on this journey too," if this part of the story made sense to you, because what comes next delves even deeper into this relationship between emotion and dreams. When we delve into the relationship between memory and hyperrealistic dreams, we immerse ourselves in one of the most fascinating aspects of how the human mind works. The way the brain processes memories while we sleep reveals much about why some dreams seem as real as past events. There is a silent, complex, and extremely intelligent process happening behind the scenes of the mind: memory consolidation. It is at this stage that the brain reorganizes memories, mixes real fragments, fills in gaps with imagination, and reconstructs entire stories based on the emotional charge you experienced. And all this happens without you realizing it, as if the brain were assembling an invisible puzzle during the night. The mind doesn't store memories like static files kept in a drawer. It functions like an editor that is constantly rewriting, selecting, cleaning, connecting, and reorganizing information. During the day we receive an absurd amount of stimuli: sounds, images, emotions, thoughts, details that we don't even consciously perceive. At night, the brain needs to decide what stays, what goes, what matters, and what can be transformed. And this process, when combined with strong emotions, creates dreams so coherent that they seem like real experiences. What makes this even more surprising is how the brain mixes fragments of real memories with entirely imagined elements. It doesn't recreate events exactly as they happened. It reconstructs the story taking into account the emotional impact it had on you. That's why, in dreams, familiar places can appear with details that never existed, people can say things they never said, and situations can unfold in unprecedented ways. The brain takes what you've experienced and shapes it into something new, almost like an alternate script of reality. When this combines with emotional intensity, the dream becomes coherent, consistent, vivid, and profoundly real. This is where a hidden truth about hyperrealistic dreams comes in. They are not invented images, but rather emotional interpretations of your own story. The mind isn't concerned with recreating exactly what happened. It's trying to make sense of what you felt. Therefore, simple situations can take on enormous proportions within a dream. A small comment, a fleeting sensation, a quick glance, everything can transform into a striking scene during sleep. The brain interprets the meaning, not just the fact. And hyperrealistic dreams are precisely this symbolic translation of what was emotionally recorded. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because this ability of the brain to reconstruct memories is one of the biggest contributors to the realism of dreams. There are moments when the mind accesses memories so old that you don't even remember living them, and they appear mixed with new elements as if they were recent memories. It's as if the brain were opening forgotten drawers and bringing together objects that have never been side by side before. This fusion creates scenarios so familiar that you feel you've been there before, even if that place doesn't even exist in real life. Memory consolidation also explains why certain emotions are so present in dreams. During the night, the emotional system remains active, reacting to memories that the brain is reorganizing. If an old memory carries pain, doubt, or joy, it can emerge in the dream with full force. It's like watching behind the scenes of your own mind, seeing up close how it processes your emotional history. Some hyperrealistic dreams are so detailed that they seem like a continuation of a conversation you never finished or a feeling that got stuck between unspoken words. What's most impressive is that often hyperrealistic dreams manage to transform internal experiences into narratives that you understand intuitively, even without being able to explain them. The mind creates symbols, metaphors, characters, and scenarios that represent deep emotions. That's why we wake up with that strange feeling of "I understood something," even if we don't know exactly what. It's a form of wisdom of the mind, a kind of silent revelation that only happens when you allow yourself to rest. And when we think about it more deeply, we realize that the brain isn't just organizing memories, it's constructing meaning. It's taking everything you've experienced, everything that has marked you, everything that's been left loose, and transforming it into emotional language. Hyperrealistic dreams are like a sensory synthesis of your journey, a way of giving form to what you feel but can't always translate while awake. They are a bridge between who you are and who you are becoming, an internal process of transformation that happens silently. This constant reconstruction of memory is what makes dreams so similar to real experiences. Because in a way they are. Not in the literal sense of having happened, but in the emotional sense of having been lived. The brain doesn't differentiate very well between imagined emotion and felt emotion, and that's what gives hyperrealistic dreams this power to affect mood, decisions, and even mindset upon waking. Now comment below, does this make sense to me? If this part of the explanation resonated with something you've ever felt, because continuing this theme takes us to even deeper layers of the human mind. When we begin to observe who tends to have hyper-realistic dreams more frequently, we realize that it's not entirely random. There are certain mental, emotional, and neurological traits that appear repeatedly in these people, as if their brains had a natural predisposition to transform the sleep experience into something much more vivid. One of the most striking characteristics is the high level of activity in the visual cortex, the area responsible for processing images. Even during sleep, this region functions almost as if it were awake, creating scenarios with more detail, deeper colors, and more defined shapes. It's as if these people's brains possessed a sharper internal lens, capable of transforming any fragment of memory into a complete landscape. Another very common characteristic is a great capacity for imagination. Imaginative people not only create stories, but they see possibilities where others see only routine. They can visualize situations, invent dialogues, and build internal worlds with ease. This active imagination doesn't disappear at night, it just changes environment. And during sleep, this ability creates dreams with plots, aesthetics, and sensations so striking that they could be mistaken for real experiences. It's no exaggeration to think that those with strong imaginations even live a kind of second life every night. Furthermore, many studies show that people who have hyperrealistic dreams exhibit greater activity in the hippocampus, the region of the brain responsible for consolidating memories and organizing important information. This means that, while they sleep, their brain is constantly revisiting memories, rearranging experiences, and reconstructing meanings. This more intense activity in the hippocampus not only intensifies dreams but also increases the likelihood that they will be clearly remembered upon waking. Memory blends with imagination, creating complex, rich, and emotionally charged stories. Another recurring trait is the tendency towards more prolonged REM sleep. The REM phase, as you've already seen, is the time when the brain is most active during sleep. The longer a person remains in this phase, the greater the chance of having intense, long dreams with a strong sense of continuity. While some people pass through this stage quickly, others remain in it for longer periods, allowing their minds to explore even deeper realms of this inner journey. This natural prolongation of the REM phase is like having more time inside this mental cinema, watching, feeling, and living increasingly detailed stories. And perhaps one of the most striking characteristics is the ease with which details can be remembered. There are people who wake up and can describe their dreams as if they had just watched a movie. They remember the color of the clothes, the tone of the light, specific phrases, the feel of the water, the smell of the environment, the emotional impact the scene had. This doesn't happen to everyone. While some can barely remember if they dreamed, others carry with them fragments so vivid that they seem like true memory records. This ability to remember accurately indicates not only a different functioning of the brain during sleep, but also a greater sensitivity to the emotional impact of dreams. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because there's an interesting revelation about these shared characteristics. Many scientists believe that people with hyperrealistic dreams may have a more creative brain than average. Not in the traditional artistic sense, but in terms of cognitive flexibility, the ability to form unexpected connections, the skill to transform emotions into images and symbols. This type of mind operates at a different frequency, connecting ideas and memories in ways that other people don't perceive. Creativity, in this context, is not just a talent, it's a way of internal functioning that influences how these individuals feel, process, and understand the world. These combined characteristics, an active visual cortex, heightened imagination, a vibrant hippocampus, prolonged REM sleep, and detailed memory, create fertile ground for intense dreams. It's as if these people's brains work day and night at high speed, absorbing everything around them, registering emotions deeply, and reorganizing experiences with great sensitivity. And, during sleep, all this potential manifests itself in the form of powerful images, striking sensations, and stories that are part of the individual's emotional identity. Some people experience their dreams as if they were important chapters of their own lives. And, in a way, they are. They are symbolic records of what they feel most deeply, even when they don't talk about it. And there's something very special about this pattern. Those who experience hyperrealistic dreams tend to perceive more beauty, more intensity, and more meaning in everyday situations. This is because their brains are accustomed to creating and interpreting complex internal realities. In these cases, the mind functions like a mirror that reflects the world in an amplified way, capturing nuances that go unnoticed by other people. We're not just talking about sensitivity, we're talking about a mindset that transforms every detail into something worthy of attention. These shared traits show that hyperrealistic dreams are not a coincidence, but a direct expression of how these people's minds function daily. A mind that feels deeply, imagines clearly, perceives intensely, and at night transforms all of this into symbolic narrative. Such people live an inner journey that many never see, and dreams are merely a window into this universe. Comment below, this makes sense to me, if you identified with any of these characteristics. because the next part of this content continues to expand on this fascinating mystery of the human mind. When dreams become hyper-realistic to the point of being frightening, it's natural for many people to wake up with a racing heart, trying to understand what just happened. There are nights when the brain creates scenes so intense that they seem more real than reality itself. Sometimes, the dream gains such a strong emotional impact that the body reacts as if it were truly experiencing it: sweaty palms, shortness of breath, muscle tension, that strange feeling that something is still happening even after waking up. This happens because when the brain enters maximum immersion mode, it's not just imagining, it's simulating. And this simulation, however uncomfortable it may seem, is not a sign of danger, but rather a reflection of the depth to which your mind works during the night. There are times when the experience can be so vivid that it transforms into extremely realistic nightmares, with scenarios that evoke strong emotions, threatening situations, or feelings of helplessness. And the most curious thing is that, even knowing it was all a dream, the body takes time to return to equilibrium. This happens because the emotional system reacts to the internal images as if it were reacting to a real event. The brain sends signals, the body responds. But despite this intensity, it doesn't represent any risk. In fact, it's just the mind functioning at a deep processing level, trying to reorganize feelings, relieve tension, or symbolize something that was recently experienced. Many people describe feeling trapped in a scene, as if they can't escape a situation within the dream. This entrapment has nothing to do with anything mystical or supernatural. It occurs because, during the REM phase, the body is naturally paralyzed due to a mechanism that prevents you from moving while dreaming. This paralysis is not a mistake, it's a protection. It prevents you from physically executing the movements experienced in the dream, avoiding falls or accidents. So, when someone reports feeling trapped, what is really happening is an overlap between consciousness and REM autonia, a mixture between the dream and the perception of one's own body. Another striking characteristic of hyperrealistic dreams is how they linger in the mind. While many dreams dissolve minutes after waking, others remain registered for days, sometimes even weeks. This happens because intense dreams activate areas responsible for long-term memories, mainly the hippocampus and the limbic system. When a dream experience generates a strong emotional impact, it can be stored as if it were a real memory. That's why some people remember old dreams with impressive clarity, almost as if they were talking about concrete events. These records are not mental failures. They are proof of the power that emotional experience has over memory. And then there are spontaneous lucid dreams, which are even more intriguing. In these, the person realizes they are dreaming, but instead of waking up, they remain consciously aware of the situation in the dream. This mixture of lucidity and imagination creates moments so real that they seem to cross the border between dream and wakefulness. For some, it's liberating, for others, it's frightening. But in both cases, this occurs because the prefrontal cortex, responsible for judgment and consciousness, remains partially active, allowing the dreamer to perceive the process as it happens. Even so, what many people don't understand is that all of this is completely natural. The human mind possesses extraordinary capabilities, and some of them are only revealed during sleep. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because there is a hidden truth behind these episodes that seems so real. They are not signs of trouble, they are not supernatural warnings, they do not represent a threat. They are simply the result of a brain operating at high capacity, navigating the deepest layers of imagination, memory, and emotion. When the dream is so real that it frightens, what is happening is that you are experiencing peak mental functioning during the REM phase. The mind combines emotional intensity, sensory memory, vivid images, and a special mode of internal awareness that creates a feeling of total presence. And even when the content is uncomfortable, this does not indicate anything negative about mental or emotional health. On the contrary, it is often an emotional cleansing mechanism, a way of processing tensions that you are not consciously aware of. These hyperrealistic dreams are like films produced by the brain itself, using fragments of experiences, echoes of emotions, and small details captured in everyday life. The feeling of realism is not a mistake, it's a demonstration of how powerful the mind can be. And when you look at these dreams with more curiosity and less fear, you can perceive that they are part of your inner journey, a kind of narrative that the mind creates to understand the impact of what you experience. And there's something even more interesting. Some people report that even when the dream is frightening, it delivers a kind of emotional message, a silent revelation about something that was hidden. Not as a supernatural warning but as a form of profound understanding. The mind, when in its most creative state, can transform even fear into meaning. Therefore, even intense dreams can bring clarity, even if at first they seem merely confusing. If you also have hyperrealistic dreams, comment below. What's the strangest dream you've ever had? And if you want to understand other mysteries of the human brain, subscribe to the channel. There's a lot more coming soon. And if you've made it this far with me, it's because this topic truly resonates with something deep inside you. This kind of connection is rare, and I'm genuinely happy to know that this content made sense to you in some way. So, if you want to follow this journey exploring the inner workings of the human mind, subscribe to the channel. That way you can stay with me for the next revelations, without missing anything that science still has to show about the mysteries that happen within us. And since you've made it to the end, leave a comment below with your phrase. I'm with you until the end, just so I know you stayed with me on this whole trip. These comments really help me understand who truly connects with this type of content, and that makes a real difference in the path the channel is building. If you feel this video brought you some clarity, some reflection, or that good feeling of, now everything makes sense, please leave a like. It's a simple way, but it strengthens the exchange we've created here throughout this conversation. And before you go, there's a video right here that complements this topic and delves even deeper into this journey through the human mind. Click on it and continue with me there.